Hello to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's late in the afternoon, Monday, and I was at home and I thought I'd just come out and crank out another 5am Club. It'll make two for the day. And I'm just over here at Moxham's Park, and I'm about to go on a walk on a loop called the Water Dragon Way. So I've got about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. So I'll go for a walk and talk and take you through a book summary. And today's book summary is entitled The Leader in You. It's an old classic and it's written by Dale Carnegie. And we'll see what we can source from Dale's writings, his timeless writings that have survived many decades and are still relevant today as what they were many, many years ago. So it's interesting, this has all been cleared out. It wasn't this clear before. Wondering what they're doing. But what Dale is saying, I'll just get off the bridge here so cyclists can come through. So what Dale is saying here is that most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope left at all. It's an interesting observation there that Dale kicks off his book with, because there are many times where I've been watching sport, be it tennis, be it golf, be it soccer, rugby league, you name it. There are many, many sports that I watch, and I often say to myself, I would have given up by now. And yet, the athletes just keep on sticking to it. And lo and behold, the fact that they stick to it and don't give up is the reason why some people become absolute champions. Because, and even today in the tennis, I saw the tennis there, the women's final at the Indian Wells tournament, and I've been watching the tournament for a few days now, and the observation that I've got is that more often than not, the person who won the first set did not go on to win the match. It's the person who was down a set and was on the ropes was the one who just seemed to do whatever they had to do to come out and win the match. So this is along the lines of what Dale Carnegie is saying in his book, The Leader in You, where he says that most people who achieve wonderful success are the ones who just keep on going when most other people would have given up. So Dale also goes on to say that one of the wonderful things about humans, about people, is that we get to connect with people at different levels, and we all get at some point throughout our lives to establish relationships, different levels of relationships with people along the way, which is an interesting way of looking at it, because not everybody can make the same connection with other people, and the connections are, I guess, multi-leveled. They're not just the same connection, they're not the same relationship. Now, you can just see that there are some people who are able to connect with people at a deeper level, and regardless of how much you try, sometimes we don't have that charisma whereas others have it in spades. So he goes on to say, makes a very good point, that everyone needs leadership skills. Regardless of what we do in our lives, everyone needs leadership skills, and we all need social skills. So they're the skills that we need to work on and to build throughout our lives, because sooner or later we're going to need them. And more often than not, we need them. So you can't hide from it. So the call to action from Dale Carnegie is that we need to invest in these skill sets and become better leaders and more social. So in terms of the first formal point to come out of this book, and I like this, I love this point. It's where Dale Carnegie says that to be a great leader, what you first need to do is you need to be authentic. You need to be authentic in your leadership skills, your leadership style, and focus on your strengths. I've mentioned before in another book summary that the education system in Australia and throughout the developed world spends more time focusing on people's weaknesses, trying to make people, generalists. And, you go to school, your report comes home, and the only thing your parents and everybody else focuses on are the things that you didn't do well in, as opposed to the things that you did do well in. And we spend a lot of time trying to improve on our weaknesses without having the appropriate focus on our strengths. And this is where Dale says it's important to focus, to know, but also to focus on your strengths, because they're the things that are going to separate you from everybody else. So once again, let's reiterate. He's saying that we need to invest in a leadership style that is our own, that we don't become a clone of the managing director or somebody else, because by trying to clone somebody else and trying to, mimic their leadership style, it will come across as being unauthentic, and you've got to do, at the end of the day, you've got to do what comes naturally to you. Because if you try to force something, people will know that there's something wrong. Dale Carnegie says that if you try too hard, people will feel that something is off. So whatever you do, according to Dale, whatever style you have or whatever style you adopt and focus on, he says that the most important thing to do is to build your style on openness and trust. Wow, check this out. We've had a storm just recently, but I look down here and I just see all of this timber that has accumulated here, and what it is, or what it looks like, is just fuel that's waiting for summer to come to cause a flare-up and just fuel a number of bushfires. As you can see here, the trees did catch alight, not last Christmas, but the Christmas before when we had the fires in Sydney. But in a matter of 2 years, the canopy's come back, as you can see, as has the bush below. And unless you knew that a bushfire was here a couple of years ago, then you probably wouldn't be able to tell just looking at it now. So what else can we learn from this book that Dale was able to pen so many years ago? The other thing he talks about, the common element amongst great leaders, is that great leaders are really, really good at establishing a common goal. Because when you've got a common goal, when you're able to work on a common goal, it's able to, I guess, generate and motivate the team to work together, to collaborate, and to pull in the one direction. I think just recently we've seen with COVID-19 that as soon as the premiers, as soon as the Prime Minister started giving us some percentages to aim for and some benefits to be gained, then all of a sudden the vaccination rate accelerated, and before you know it, we hit 70%, and yesterday we hit 80%, and now we're well on our way to the freedoms, and hopefully in a position to be able to control this pandemic and enable the economy to build back up and to get back to the robust performances that we're used to in the past. So what else can we talk about from this book here? The author mentions that true leadership inspires teams and directs them. That's why in organisations you've got people called directors. You've got the managing director, you've got the chief financial officer, but they're all directors. And the reason why they're called directors is that their job or their role is to lead people into a direction, to provide a target, to provide a horizon, and to point people into a direction, to give vision. And the purpose of a director is to establish the team's purpose, to create the why, the team why, so that everybody understands what the why is, everybody can feel it, they can articulate it, and they I guess, feel ownership of it as well. So it's important for a good leader to establish a common goal that is worth fighting for, that resonates with everybody in the team and gets them excited. Because at the end of the day, we're all pretty much the same, we're all wired the same. Because we're social beings, we all want to be connected. We love the sense of connection, and we love the sense of belonging. So this is one of the key elements from this book, where Dale Carnegie says that we need leaders to be able to understand that people want to belong, people want to connect, and people absolutely love being part of a movement and a community. And that can work in both ways. It can work in a positive way, and it can work in a negative way. I guess young people, love being part of a group and a community, but sometimes they get mixed up with the wrong people, and hence they join gangs, they join outlawed bikie groups, because they want to be part of a movement and part of a community. I guess just recently we've also seen the ugly side of social media with the anti-vax movement and the freedom sort of movement that have created protests and a lot of challenges to the police. But I guess, what we've learnt from that is that social media can feed on people's weaknesses, on their sensitivities, on their fears, their uncertainties and their doubts. And once you create a groundswell, then momentum builds up and it tends to snowball, and before you know it, you have a lot of people who get on board, or they appear to get on board, because social media is a little bit different to reality. You've got a few people who are very vocal and are very active and can make it look as if there are millions of anti-vaxxers, when in actual fact it's a little bit like the Wizard of Oz. When you look behind the curtain, you see the puppeteer there just making all the lightning and all the sounds, and it's revealed that it's not quite as prolific and as big as what it's made out to be. So, as we said, people love being part of a movement, and some people can leverage groups and activity, and the social media, as we've seen, is one sort of tool that can be used for the benefit of many, but it can also be quite destructive as well. The last formal point to come out of this book, and I've come to this beautiful pond here, and I could just almost visualise 100, 200, 1,000 years ago, this little area here being occupied by indigenous groups or early settlers coming down here to wash, to fish maybe even, and to live in these beautiful bushland areas. So the last point that comes from this author is where he says that a good leader accepts different perspectives and knows when to listen. And for all of us who have been married and who have been family people for a number of years, I guess we've learnt the hard way that you just can't get by just doing what you want, but you need to listen to your partner, your children, your parents, your grandparents, your friends, your family, your community leaders, your boss. You need to learn how to listen. And not only to listen, but to actively listen in order to understand the different perspectives, so that you can, manage your way through the different views, so you don't have a mutiny on your hand. So the other things that the author talks about in terms of the importance, or the important things that leaders need to have, is empathy. Empathy is one of the key skills that Dale Carnegie talks about. And he says that empathy is a key skill of leaders, because through empathy we learn how to connect. Not only how to connect, but also how to understand the people around us, the people in our teams. And it's through understanding the people that we work with, the people we represent, the people we live with, the people we serve, that is critical for our long-term success. I remember many years ago, I worked for a wonderful organisation named IBM. IBM back in the mid-80s, when it was the most revered company in the world. And we had really good managers, a real good system, and it worked. It worked back then. It worked in the mid-80s. And I remember they had a thing called an open door policy. An open door policy, which basically said that you can walk in to any manager's office at any time and have their undivided attention. Respect for the individual was something which was a very big value in the organisation. And I remember going in to speak to my manager, who would be facing away from me, working on his computer. But every time I'd walk into his office, Ray Smith would turn around, stop what he's doing, put his hands on the desk, lean forward, look at me and say, "James, how can I help you?" And he'd sit there and listen. He was proactive, and this is what Dale Carnegie says as well. We need to be proactive with our listening skills and try to absorb as much as possible, and you can filter out later on. So a lot of people try to filter things and interrupt and ask questions along the way. But what Dale Carnegie says in this book is that the important thing is to stop, zip it, listen to what somebody has to say, and you can filter it later. Because listening is the best form of communication. And when you're listening, it's important to actively listen and to validate with your body language, through nods, through mirroring. But you need to give your entire focus to the person that you're listening to. You can't be looking at your phone, you can't be looking at your monitor, you can't be looking out the window at what's happening around you in the office. You need to be there. Your mind needs to be present, and you need to connect with the person in that room. And it's important to be an effective listener as opposed to an efficient listener. Now, you can't be effective if you're trying to be efficient, is one of the key messages, a very important learning, which once you sit and consider and you contemplate, it is a profound sort of statement. Too many people want or try or think that great leadership is about being efficient, not spending too much time getting things done. But when you're dealing with people, and we can all attest to this, especially the ones who have been married, like me, for 35, 36 years, come next month, you learn very, very quickly that you can't be efficient with your children, you can't be efficient with your wife, you can't be efficient with your parents, your friends, your family, your work peers. What you need to do is you need to put in the yards, the hard yards, and the hours, and to be effective, which means listening to them, zipping it, not asking too many questions. And once they've had their opportunity to talk and to voice what they want to voice, that's when you've got plenty of opportunity to start asking questions and to start filtering and trying to get into then solution mode. But we shouldn't be jumping to solution mode too early in the piece. And another technique that I've learnt, it's not from this book here, it's the McDonald's style of questioning. As soon as somebody has opened up to you and has spoken to you, then you should always follow up and ask, is there anything else? Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Is there anything else that I need to know? You need to be inviting people to feel comfortable and to want or to feel as if they're able to trust you and to engage you without thinking that they're wasting your time or taking your valuable time away from you. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there. So it's that time of day where the sun is probably gone down now and it'll start getting dark soon. So I'll start heading back. But thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we went through and had a chat, a walk and talk about an interesting book. A book, as I said, that has stood the test of time, written before I was even born, and it's entitled The Leader in You. and the author is the famous Dale Carnegie. So I'll head back. So thank you very much. And as I said, I love going for a walk in the bush, and I love also putting together episodes of Jim's 5 a.m. Club, where we can walk and talk, where I invite you to vicariously join me on these journeys of discovery, where from the comfort of your couch, from the comfort of being in some other country, in the world, you can join us, and we can walk and talk and learn together. Because the beauty is to live, learn, and pass it on. So I encourage you, and I encourage everybody to start vlogging and start, I guess, documenting the knowledge base, the learnings that they've accumulated, because everybody has a slither of reality, and it's a beautiful thing to be able to share that. We've got the technology, it's free. You just throw it up onto Facebook. You can download it as a YouTube video. Anybody wanting to connect to my YouTube channel, it's called Jim's 5 a.m. Club. You're more than welcome to subscribe. I think I've got about 65 subscribers. But I don't do it for the subscriptions. I don't do it for the likes. I've generated 1,150 vlogs in English, where I've I've presented summaries of texts, of books, of OPE, other people's experience, in an effort to use that so that we can leverage the knowledge and hopefully try and apply it, because applied knowledge is the key, and learning is the skill, the technique of simply applying the unknown to the known. The more you know, the more you're capable of knowing. So we must never, ever stop learning. We must never stop pushing ourselves to grow and develop, because our brain has no limits to what it can conceive, what it can process consciously and subconsciously. So I guess go for it is the invitation, the call to action. Take care, everybody. Thank you once again for joining me, and we'll chat again sometime soon from another location with another message of empowerment. And happy Monday evening. Bye for now.